evening. Hello, Louis. How are you? How's everybody doing? Sunday night. Tired. We are very, very tired. Chris will be joining me in a minute. She likes to make her entrance as usual. I have to come on first. Hello, Ara. How are you? Yeah, she put up the link from the other room. Hello, Anna. How you doing? So the link is there, New Jersey Paranormal. If you want to join us tonight to talk about anything in particular. Hello, Marie, Laura, Luann,
Aura.
Susan. How are you?
So
I said Ara already. Thank you. Cindy, Dominique. How are you?
I'm getting there.
There she comes. Little by little. All good. Does she have her own theme? Yeah, really. That's a good idea, Ara. I do need to create just a theme song for Chris for whenever she does decide to just sashay into the live here.
Yeah.
Hello, Teresa. How are you?
I got
Good idea,
the
Ara.
song for it too.
We need to work on that.
I got the song too.
Hello, Karen. How are you?
Hello, everybody. Happy Sunday.
Happy. Sure.
Yes.
That's what you want to call it. So, again, the link is there. If you guys want to join us, any subjects you want to talk about. If you were at the mine event and you want to come in and talk about the event at the mine last night, Sterling Hill
Hi, Dominic.
Mining Museum. Oh, we got to power through. We could bring you on. It's not the John show anymore. It's the Chris show. Yeah, I need to create. I have my own theme song though, my own intro. So there. Hello, Carrie. How are you? And Cindy. So, like I said, anybody here that was at the mine event? I know we just came on. You got to give it a few minutes. Chris will put the link up, or if you have any questions, or if you want to talk about any subject in general, you could come on. You just click the link, follow the instructions, or copy and paste it into your browser. You'll be brought backstage where we can see it right there. And then we bring you on and we can talk about whatever you want to talk about. But we are tired because we're getting in that time of the year. Hello, Roseanne. We're getting in that time of the year where, we're going to be changing the clocks whenever. So it's staying daylight. It's getting darker later, I should say. And our events run longer because of that. So Sterling Hill Mine, which, God, we've been going there for I don't know how many years now, is definitely one of our favorite places to go. One of the most active places we've been since we started doing this, for sure. And
never disappoints.
Oh my God, that place is just so awesome, man. So awesome.
And we learn new stuff every time we go.
Yeah.
Every time we go, we get more information that we didn't know that we could use.
But it was a late one in that we got there like 4:35, probably 4:30, and the event doesn't start till 7:30. So we're there early, setting up and talking to the people that are there that we know at the mine. And then the event is over at 11:30, which means after we wrap up and clean up everything, we don't leave till 12:30-ish. Hey, Shauna. Just purchase our expo tickets. Cool.
Nice.
Good. You're going to enjoy yourself. You will enjoy yourself for sure. But then we go to a diner, an all-night diner in Morristown. Long story short, we don't get home till 2:30. By the time you shower, you don't go to bed till 3:34 in the morning. And then today is just sleeping on and off until you kind of recover. And there's a whole lot of this involved.
Tons.
Cheers to that.
Tons.
Thank you.
I'm whipped. I'm gonna be so honest about this. When John said, and we talked about, we knew that we were gonna do this tonight, but I'm definitely not gonna hold up my part on this one. I'm so whipped. I'm sore. I didn't bounce back this time at all.
Death Wish coffee. Nope, never tried that. So
yes, I have tried Death Wish coffee.
So Sterling Hill Mine, the event there was so friggin' good. The weird thing, again, last time we were there was in October, was Halloween. We did the Halloween event with Cody and Satori. And we haven't been there in 4 months now. And it almost is like you have that much of a like buffer, like things ratchet up, man, when it's been that long. And where I was probably for the last event, um, for the last time we were there in Halloween, it was good. I had the haunted objects down there, but this time, boy oh boy, that person who was down there in that office building, wow, he was just like raring to go, man. It was like I couldn't ask for better. It was like if I had like my equipment, as if I opened up a box and he was just ready to go,
Yeah.
and it was so cool. And we had a lot of newer people came to this event. It was kind of a mixed bag between people who have been to our event before and new people, and it's always cool to see new people and their expressions to the things that are happening. And again, the way we organize our events and the way we do it is different than others, I guess. So it's good to see. And even I'll mention her here, Cheryl and Mike, the Burks. They come to a lot of our events, and when you could have someone who's been to God knows how many events and God many years that how many years that we've been doing this, that Cheryl and Mike have been, and to say that it was amazing, that says a lot. I mean, again, it's not us. We're doing whatever the building is going to allow us. That's it.
I have to tell you, for me, especially because my body gave out. I got a lot of health issues, and usually it doesn't.
Oh.
I'm pretty good about like it. I'm good until
Hey,
I'm home the next day before it kicks in. But when the event, with the last leg of the event, it hit me, and I didn't have much to give. And it's
the Mother
no,
Teresa of the paranormal.
no,
I'm the
no,
paranormal
no,
savior.
no. Hold on now.
Are you the only ones with issues?
No, not at all. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not. Don't even go there. But that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that when you have people who come to events and they enjoy what they're doing, and then they turn when it's over, and you know they've got a long ride home too, and they turn to you. What can we do to help you? What can we do to help you get out of here and help clean up? I mean, that means so much on a personal level, because that's not the fun stuff. That's the grunt work. And when people are willing, that are there as participants, are saying, "Hey, we will stop what we're doing. What can we do to help you get out of here?" I just appreciate people
Yeah, I
like
didn't
that.
have any help, so I don't know what that's like.
I'm sorry. I don't know what to tell you, but I'm just saying that it means the world to me. Whether I accept it or I don't, or you're there helping, it means the world. And I think it's for all of us. I mean, you've had where people have stepped up and done stuff. Yeah, you're so full of baloney. He's so full of it. But it does. It just, on so many levels, it just, it's such a compassionate, kind thing to do, and it does. It resonates with me, and it makes all the difference. It made for me.
Yeah,
it does.
But I'm going to get into mine at some point, regardless. It's a drive for us too. It's an hour and a half
far.
there and back.
I understand that.
Well worth it. Well worth it. It's unlike any place I'd ever been before. Doing this for as long as I have. Between not only the mine itself is quote unquote haunted or active, whatever you want to, but the surrounding buildings are as well. So you have the one building Kenny's in that has the the old lockers and the showers that the miners used to use, and then you have other buildings there that have tools and equipment and it's just the whole entire place is active. And the one place that I'm in really shouldn't be. Um, it's an office, and I don't know how much that office was used back in the day of that it being an active mine. I'm sure it was used by the higher ups or whatever. But that building has something downstairs that is just like, whoa, this guy is like,
he's aggressive,
so intimidating, man. And just when he's on and he's going and he's letting you know. I turned the spirit box on and I did things a kind of a different way. I did some remote investigating. I won't get into what that is because they're there, they're watching, they're like, wait, remote investigating? Wait, what is that now? So I did something a little different, and it really worked well. And I gave this person an opportunity before going into his area to let all of us know, whether he wanted us down there or not. And several times in several different ways, he came through and was like, you come down here, it is what it is. I'm going to be down here and I'm not going to be happy. And
Not apologizing for who he is, right?
And nobody knows who he won't ever say his name. Ever, ever, ever. And we're talking, we go there probably 5 times a year now. And I'm in that building for their whole duration of the 4 hours or whatever it is. And not one time has he told me his name. Not one.
I think some of the things that kind of shifted, like you get an idea of a handful of people, and we definitely have names of some of the people in the last few years that worked in the mine that have passed and stuff. But when the chief of police showed up and he handed us a nice big list of information that he had from individuals who passed from the 1960s all the way up to 1929, I think was, but it was a nice hefty, and it stated everything about them, their age, how they died, the newspaper clipping that talked about their death and stuff. And it was just it changed the dynamics going into the mine, and being able to address a 16-year-old boy who died in the mine and getting a response back from someone that you normally wouldn't have tried to talk to and engage with because you didn't know the name of that person. You're asking for him, but when you distinctively know and did. What is that?
The TV, oh my god.
It just kicked on. But it was just like,
fix that.
You could turn and you're in the mine in the dark, and you can turn and you can say, Jacob, I'm so sorry. I heard you died, and this is how you died in the mine. And you get a response and a comment that comes back. And it's just like, it's astonishing. You don't expect that. There's almost like, finally, somebody acknowledged me. Somebody knows I'm here. Because they died suddenly in the mine, and like a lot of them were buried alive.
Horrific.
Yeah.
Too, from what we were being told, the description. We saw some of the newspaper articles. There were people that literally got caught in the machinery, and pulled apart. Horrible. Some fell like 900 feet and just.
Yeah, it was so simple. Like you had said, there were no safety measures back in the early 1900s, and he was being pulled up from a bucket, and something caught the bucket and tipped him right out, and he fell to his death. I mean, just something as simple, things we take for granted now that are safety precautions that weren't then. But story after story of being buried, so many of them were buried alive, crushed. Their injuries were so severe from massive falling boulders and stuff. It was just like, the more you read it, the more just like, oh, you really got it. You understood how dangerous it really was to be in that mine.
And what was cool, there was people, out there, some we didn't meet before, that were kind of talking about watching us on here, and they were talking about the Creeper Gallery investigations and all that stuff. And it's cool to meet people. I don't see Edward. I hope Edward made it home wherever his home is, but it was cool to meet some new people and know that they follow us on here and they watch. It's always, again, that's part of it. If you have the opportunity to come out and actually go on and go something with us, if you're in the area, I mean, try to do that, because you not only get to hang out with us and do the whole ghost hunting thing, but you'll meet other people here as well, not just the names. You'll see these people and really get to know them.
We have John and I were talking about this on the way home, and I'm not going to divulge all the information because that's between, that's fine, but there was an individual that needed a lift home, and one of the people who we're really good friends with just stepped in with no hesitation, like, where do you need to go? Nobody's going to get left behind. And you just saw people circle the wagon basically and said, hey, no matter what happens tonight, you're getting to your destination, because one of us is going to make sure you get there. That's the kind of stuff that just kind of like, wow, that's when you know it's a community and not just, hey, we're here for our own individual thing and we walk away.
There he is. Speak of the devil.
Edward. There he is. Good evening.
We're very fortunate, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time in this because we do that a lot of nights, but we're very fortunate in that even the expo, somebody brought up the expo, New Jersey Power Uni Expo, which is happening in November of this year. Even the expo, people who aren't into the paranormal, who work for the township, tell us all the time, boy, the people that come to these events are just so nice to each other and nice to everyone from the township.
Yep.
And they're nothing like we thought they would be. Like people expect paranormal people to be, whatever. But it's the same with our group and the people that attend our events. I mean, there were young people there last night. And I hate saying that because I feel so old when I say the word young people. Like I'm getting like my mom. My mom, I remember my mom had me when she was 37. So my mom was always the oldest at kindergarten
Yeah.
and whatever. And as my mom, I'm 13, 14, 15, whatever. And my mom got to be in her 50s and everyone was a kid, whether they were 10, 20, or 30. It was like kid.
Grouped them
Now,
all
I'm
together.
doing that now and it's driving me bananas that she instilled that in me. And I call people kids who are 20. So, but these were younger than kids. They were 14 and you get a little like, oh boy, how are they going to react to being in a dark mine with stuff going on around them and weird stuff happening? But to their credit, handled it. They were into it. They handled it well, and they were right on board with everyone else doing what everybody else. And they were, younger people that age aren't watching Ghost Hunters or Discovery. They're all doing, TikTok and all that other stuff. But they were into it, and it's cool to see that because I wish I was into it at 14.
And they didn't
15.
shy away from the experiments that we were doing, and I have to say, and I don't. You go in that mine in the dark. That's intimidating. I don't care who you are. It is intimidating when you're off on your own and like it's intimidating. And for me it doesn't change. Every time I go in there I'm intimidated and maybe that's not a good thing to say as a paranormal investigator, but I do find that place intimidating and I am uncomfortable if I'm in there alone and I don't like to be alone. I do like to be with people and not by my but to have I don't know if I'd have had that fortitude that these young people had to actually step in and try something for the first time and show no fear and just be very brave. They were intimidated, but they didn't let their fear stop them. And that's inspiring.
Oh, I think it's awesome. I think I wish I had got into it at that age. I wish it was as mainstream as it is now, and I knew people that were doing that, I think that's so cool. But, again, I think what's different and I think we're like I said, people the way they react after the event and when it's done and over and they tell us had a good time and it's really cool that happens, because all we're doing is just there she is. Hello, Jennifer. All we're doing is just experimenting the whole entire time. Really, that is bare bones what we're doing. We're doing everything in our power to initiate interaction and communication with who's ever around us. The method is usually the same. For me, it's really not a whole lot different than what you guys see at the Creeper Gallery. I kind of approach things the same unless it's a negative or whatever.
Yeah.
But I just think I'm doing what I would be doing if I was ghost hunting with just her, with her and Kenny, with 3 other people, with 4 other people. This is what I would be doing with a group, no matter what group I was with. It's no different because it's an event, per se. When I was younger.
Wish you were younger. Yeah.
I was tempted. I will say this. When we were at the Sterling Mine, we were in Sparta. And after talking to my friend Mike Familiant from Jersey, who lives up that way.
Hi, Nancy.
She'll tell you, I was this close to going up in the woods and knocking on some trees with a stick, and I just can't do it. My throat won't let me do that whooping. So I was this close to doing some squatching.
I warned him that if he tried to go do that, he'd probably bring all the wildlife out. The foxes, the coyotes, and it'd be a different type of.
I mean, I was so tempted. We were kind of pulling in there in the woods as we're driving in. I'm like, we could do some squatching over here,
Just like you won't even step out of the car into the woods. You're gonna go from the. It's like a drive-by Bigfoot hunting. You'll be like, okay, drive.
I'll roll down the window. I can do it from the car. But I was tempted. I was real tempted. So, like I said, we do have more events coming up. Sterling on Mine for June is sold out. There's another one coming up in August, I believe, but there's other events in between all that, Camp Evans and other stuff coming up. You could still come to the mine if you just want to tour it and meet Cody Satori and Dustin Parry. You could still do that on May 13th. You can't, the ghost hunt sold out at night, but if you just want to come and see for yourself and meet those guys, it'd be great to just take a drive up there and meet them and go tour the mine and really get an idea of what, because for that tour we turn the lights off, so you'll kind of get a vibe of what it's really like in there. But you come and meet those guys too, which is
you
pretty
know
cool.
what was really cool is that the young girls that were on the tour had
Jay will be there.
They'd been there for the school tour with the lights on and stuff, and it was so funny bringing them through the dark mine with their flashlights. And I said, so how does it feel now? And they go, it is completely different.
Yeah.
If you would have told
Different
us
world.
we expected it to be exactly like what it is when we were here doing the tour, but she was just like, it's literally completely changed, just like we're somewhere else.
It's a different world.
Yeah,
different world completely. I did post a video, and I prefaced it with saying that, and this is how I captured that video. There was I can't say what I was doing and how I was doing it, because again, I'm just tired of being ripped off for everything I do. But I was doing something and I had the camera set up and all this other stuff, and I'm watching this anomaly on the camera. First, it came from the bottom of the screen, and it circled. It went in. It didn't go left, right. It didn't shoot off. And it had a trail. Like it wasn't. It would trail as it went in a circle, and then it stopped, and then it went away. And I said, "Holy crap! I should go grab my phone." And then equipment was going off there as well. And then I filmed that one part, and I'm watching it back, and I'm like, "Holy crap!" Literally, the anomaly flies by so fast. But as soon as it goes by the tripwire, one of the lights flashed, meaning there was a current that wasn't there before. Whatever that anomaly, that orb was, had energy to it, which dust doesn't. And it triggered the tripwire. I thought that was the coolest thing, because we're all about double validation, triple validation. Yeah. However many ways you can document and validate that something has changed in the environment and that you're interacting with something that has intelligence to it. That's what you want to do. That's the reason we do what we do, to try to document it. And go ahead.
No,
I don't need to finish.
I was just thinking that in one of the sessions that I did, it was the second or third session, I actually kind of ruined it, spoiled it a little bit for the two women that I had in one section that were separated. Because when I set everybody up where I sat, I completely went away from them so that they couldn't hear me breathing. And I was all the way halfway down by the mine by myself, which I hate to do. But it was trying to be authentic to the separation and, experience. And I literally turned around because I heard something, and there's water that drips and it's dark. And I turned around and I put like these flickering candles in the wall, so at least there's some kind of lighting. And I literally saw a shadow, and I'm just like, well, that's just the play on the flickering of the candles, and the ground is wet, so you're going to get that. And then I kept that saying, convincing myself that's what it was. And I literally watched the shadow go from one side of the mine right across this way, and then start approaching me. And I literally just started walking real fast back up to where those women were. And I said, I'm so sorry. I said, I know you can hear me coming.
In that mine down that area, around Halloween time, when we were doing all those tours with people, she had purchased those skeletons that are motion triggered. You wave your hand in front of it and they laugh and the eyes turn green and they blink. And she put them in kind of different intervals along the corridor. And there were times where we were walking people down and we weren't anywhere near where the skeletons were, and they were triggering, and you could hear them laughing up ahead. And I, during one of the walks, actually watched a ball of light come from the floor, go up to the top, go over the top, and then go down the other wall. We all just watched it happen. And it was like, whoa, you just don't know.
And whistling. People were hearing whistling. And the booms.
A lot.
They get the booms. Yeah. They got the residual booms, what was pretty cool. It's always amazing when somebody experiences what you tell them others have experienced and they get to experience for themselves. What? Oh, your show?
Yeah. Rihanna, that's coming out. You watch. You're mocking me now, but wait till you see that episode. It's gonna be on Canadian television.
Yeah,
Canadian television channel 1038, and it is I was chased by a demonic snowman. You wait till that comes on. I know I saw lantern light coming down that long tunnel. Yeah, but again, that's that mind. When we first met the people, and bigger part of what we do is that money, whatever you're paying for a ticket, and we try not to. I see other groups are up to a lot more now, and it is what it is. But whatever money we take in, we donate to the location. And in the Sterling Mines case, they take that money and they have STEM scholarships. They donate it, to different schools and give out STEM scholarships. So my son had a STEM scholarship, so it's kind of a pay it forward thing. But the people that run the Sterling Hill Mine, Bill, Denise, are two of the nicest people you'll ever meet.
Extremely dedicated.
And we're friends with them. And they are dedicated, beyond dedicated. They're there 7 days a week. And that's kind of a lot of the people that we deal with. And a lot of if you see us in a building and we're doing what we're doing, it's A, because we've experienced something there. B, because they claim to have experienced something there. And C, that we like the people a lot.
Yeah.
And that's who we continue to work with. If you see buildings drop off of our schedule, you can put the two together and connect that maybe things, our relationship isn't the same with those buildings, but the ones that are continue to be on their schedule and the ones that we add are, again, not only active and they've experienced activity there, but they're good people. And
we're loyal people.
We
we're
enjoy
extremely
doing
loyal people to loyal people. I think we that is just who John and I are.
Yeah, the Kindred Spirit episode wasn't that great, Edward. I didn't think it was.
But he was saying that he experienced something they did.
Yeah, no, I get that. I get that. But they didn't do
yeah.
that place justice at all. We were talking about that too yesterday. What time paranormal people from the future investigating people in the present called? I have no idea. That's again, Kalani gets out there.
Kalani's the guy to talk to about that stuff.
I don't get that far out there. I deal in what I've experienced and kind of what I've dealt with in this field for all these years, and I believe what I've dealt with are people who were here before me. I've never once had anybody claim on an EVP or any other ITC communication device that they were from the future. Not one time. So is it possible? Sure. Anything is possible. I don't know everything there is to know about physics and quantum physics and all that other stuff. But I think anyone I've ever spoke to is from the past, personally,
Yeah.
If I ever do get someone from the future, you better believe first question is lottery numbers for March 7th, 2023. That would be EVP question number 1, for sure. So again, anybody who wants to come on, you're welcome to come on. If there's any subject you want to talk about, you're welcome to join us. That's part of kind of what we do.
If you're at the mine and you want to come on and just talk about your experiences, it's nice for people to hear from your perspective and not ours. It's
just not like a commercial.
No, it's true. It's very true. It's a different perspective.
And we will be returning to the Creeper Gallery this week. Not sure. I don't think it'll be tomorrow, but it'll probably be Tuesday.
Hey, John.
I prefer Tuesday night because it works better that way, unless the weather's crap like it was this last time. I see again posting. Donna's got some new stuff in there, and when we get into doing events the way we are, it's kind of hard to do. Keep up, like investigating twice a week. Like again, if we were on TV and I was real famous and paid a lot of money for that, yeah, I'd do 2-3 days a week, no problem. But
really,
yeah, kidding for TV, sure.
I'm old. I just think about how can I recover from this one?
So they're helping down and moving the new stuff. Yeah, Jay's always at the Creeper Gallery. Jay's always there on a Sunday. So if you're ever there to meet Donna, you'll probably meet
Jay
as well. Jay does this cool thing where he takes pictures and he crosses his arm and bends his leg a little bit. It's just like weird pose that he does in every photo. I don't know why he does it. It's just kind of weird. But anyway, we are also gonna.
Hi, Veronica.
We are also going to speak to Dominique.
Yeah.
When is that? 8th?
14th.
14th. So yeah, my days are getting mixed up.
I'm just waiting for her to send a picture too, so we can put together the advertisement. Or you. Okay. You shouldn't say we.
We, boy.
You.
All of a sudden, we've gone to France.
Oui, oui. Parlez-vous français?
But yeah, we're going to go to the Creeper Gallery again, and like I said, we'll be announcing more events. I love the fact that we can, announce events and people say they sell out quickly. It's great that happens, but I would like to see, as many people get an opportunity to do that, as they can. Yeah, the ghost investigator pose. It is. It's actually
in the handbook.
On Wikipedia. If you look up, it's there. And because I like seeing people that I've seen before, and it's a charge for me to people like I said, Cheryl, who's been on so many events with us, to leave, this one after being on so many and going, it was amazing. And again, we're doing what we've done. We do change things, of course. I'm not going to say we do the same thing over and over and over and over, because we don't. We do change things up, and we do things different. We try to, like, from year to year, add another wrinkle here and there, try different things. We're always looking for new experiments. But, we are who we are. It's no different investigating with me next week as it was 3 years ago, probably. I'm still the same, the way I do it and how I go about it. It's just different techniques, Yeah,
we definitely have, each one of us have our own way of doing it. We bring our own. I think that's what's kind of makes it interesting.
One of the coolest things that we did as far as events go, we did an event with Daryl Marston from the second Ghost Hunters that wasn't on for long. And, Daryl's a good guy. I got nothing against Daryl. He's a good guy, and I'm sure he has a big following of his own. He was on TV, but I think he thought that, like, everybody that bought tickets to that event was there for him, and literally 3/4 or more of the people there were wearing New Jersey Paranormal hats, shirts. That's when we first started selling our merchandise. And I'm sure even he was like, whoa, what the heck? Because that had been mentioned to me before by other people who were on TV. I won't mention any names, that, like, wow, you guys have a pretty good following. And it's just like, yeah, well, we've been doing this like a long time.
Yeah, we have some amazing people.
And it's cool that, again, I don't spend my money lightly. So, it's cool that people do that. And I'm always looking for new equipment, and I'm always looking for to do new experiments. The thing is, if I could, like, if I had the Cody Satori truck, they have like one of those old Verizon trucks where they can fit a ton of stuff in there and kind of just hang it up and use it as they need it. I have so many ideas for experiments that I would love to do. Like, I can't tell you, I would have just rooms upon rooms full of different experiments. That was always my goal, was to do that. But the amount of time it would take to set them up and take them down, and
you'd have to do it a week in advance.
I would need to get there the day before,
because his experiments are very involved.
Well, again, I have some in mind that I have the stuff for them. I just haven't been able to do them because it's just, there's so much else going on, that we just can't do them. But I'm going to get around to doing them and doing different things. I really, there are things and experiments that really interest me. Like, I'm really interested in the sort of kind of what you do with the scrying thing in the mirrors. But I love the idea of the possibility of mirrors being portals.
Yes.
Could they be used by that?
Yes.
And there's a
yes.
The high pitched yeah, 3 of them in a row. Yeah. I can't remember what the term is, but it's when you, I shouldn't say it because
you're gonna give people ideas.
Yeah, I know, and they're watching. Sorry, I'll get around to it one day.
They may not be watching now. They're gonna watch later.
Because we'll we'll do the experiment ourselves, and then we'll show it to you, and then we'll take it from there. But yeah, that's why I can't say it too much, because this is how this field is. Unfortunately, it's copy and paste.
Yeah, we'd like to experience it with people that
Paranormal
come out
summer
first.
camp for a week. No, that will never, ever. You'll never. There will never be a camp next to anything that I do ever, ever.
But John, a whole week of nothing but paranormal. You just totally throw yourself into it.
No,
I will be missing notably from that.
You're the only one to be out there getting used to it. I'm not a fan of mirror thing, but was odd that even though it was dark, it seemed to get darker for a minute.
Yes.
No, right?
It's all about perspective. It's not
Not a
actually
fan.
trying to see
Not a
through
fan.
it.
That's because
But I
That's
love.
because I didn't do it, Edward. If I'd have done it, telling you,
John's competitive.
telling you.
Just in case you didn't notice.
I'll get it right for you. Summer camp at the Hilton. That's a lot of people for a week straight.
Yeah.
I don't know what that means.
To camp. If you had a camp and you had a lot of people there
I wouldn't
for
do
a
it.
whole week,
I wouldn't do
solid.
it. I wouldn't do it. I mean, we did I don't mind doing library lectures. They're kind of fun because you meet people that are just locals. You know what I mean? And they come because it's free. But they wind up leaving and having a good time, and they tell you that, and it's cool. We've lectured in front of like high schools and stuff before. I could take that or leave it because, you know, out of how many kids, there's like 3 of them that are interested, and the rest of them are like on TikTok or whatever. No, I would never go in the woods to do anything, John. Nothing. The only thing I would consider doing in the woods is if there was like the Blair Witch house. You know, I would drive into the woods and investigate a house or a cabin in the woods.
Would you really?
I'll tell you a story real quick here. This is going way, way, way back. Way back. I wish I had the Wayne's World thing. This is going way back. We had it was a private case that we were doing upstate New York. I'll tell you the exact circumstances. These people were caretakers of a home that was empty. Now, they kind of lived in the same wooded area, like in the middle of freaking nowhere where cell phones didn't even work. And they lived kind of like, I don't know if you call it the lot or whatever, in the same area, but the house that they were kind of watching, that people had moved out of because there was paranormal activity in the house. Mm-hmm. And these people that lived near them were friends of theirs, of course. They were going by the house, just making sure, you know, the pipes weren't freezing and that everything was cool with the house. I think they were doing some repairs as well. And stuff was happening while they were there, you know, doing the work. They would see shadow figures, lights would flicker and all this other stuff. So they said, would you come up and check it out? So again, this is in the early days where we were like, you know, we would have done anything, anywhere, and drive all the way up there to check it out. You were with me when we took the initial drive.
Initial drive up there was way out
and
there.
You're talking, you know, the road in The Shining where they're like on that cliff. In wherever that is that Colorado, where that building is, that hotel? But this road was in upstate New York on a winding hill,
and the road seemed to get smaller and smaller.
There was snow on the ground, and it was cold out. So we drive all the way there just to check out where the building is. We didn't even meet the client at this point. We just checked out where the building was, kind of how far it was, and it was in the middle of nowhere. And again, we noticed right off the bat, we got a certain point, cell phones didn't work. And we're like, okay.
Yeah.
So then we drive up to do the actual investigation where we're meeting the clients for the first time. And my daughter was there and my brother was there, and we're all in the car, and we drive up again, pitch black. It's out in the middle of the woods. You couldn't even see your hand in front of your face. Here we drive up to the
and the house had no power, right?
The house we were going into, where we were investigating, but the people taking care of it, they lived in there. It was like a ranch.
Yeah.
So we're thinking, okay, it's pitch black. We hadn't met these people yet. Who's gonna go ring the bell or knock on the door and see if there's serial killers there? So of course. So I go up to the door and I knock on it. And at first nobody answers. I knock on it again. Nobody answers. The door opens. It's pretty dark inside. They had candles on, and there was a light like in a back room. And I'm like,
what the hell?
Hell no, am I stepping inside? And the woman's like, well, come on in. And I'm like,
no.
I'm like, okay, you turn the light on. It's pretty dark here. And she turned the light on. And they were normal people. There weren't anything wrong with them, but I could have been killed and mutilated. And
everybody else was still in the car.
They were still in the car. So then we followed them to where the house is, and another ran. No, this was a duplex. It was a small house though, and out in the middle of nowhere, no power. They shut off all the breakers because we didn't want the breakers on or anything. And
that was and it was surrounded by woods. I remember that. It was literally
surrounded.
Out
in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
Out in the middle. Hey, Taryn. And out in the middle of nowhere. And then we hear about how behind the house a little ways, there's a dirt road and somebody died. Not only did somebody die in a motorcycle accident on that road, but a young man hanged himself back there. Yeah. So there were 2 deaths literally behind the building. So we're like, oh, okay. They didn't tell us this until we were there. So we get in that building, and again, with no power, no nothing. And there was a lot of weird noises. Didn't see any shadows or anything, but the equipment was going off when there was absolutely no electricity whatsoever. Things were going off. We were hearing knocking sounds from different parts of the building. And again, we had to keep going out to the car to get different things, to get different equipment. And the heat wasn't on the building either. So we would get warm in the car and come back in. And you would walk out there, unless when you shine your flashlight, you could see maybe 2 feet in front of you. Otherwise, and it was snowing too when we were up there. So we're like, we're going to get stuck. This is like every horror movie I've ever seen. So we did investigate it. We did find some stuff. And then we called the people back and we're like, hey, we did find stuff and, we want to come up and talk to you about it. When's a good time to do that? Because we got to discuss whatever's going to happen next. And they just never responded again. And that was the last I ever heard from them.
Oh, wow.
It was bizarre. But there was, again, I don't know who was in that house, but where it was in relation to the motorcycle accident and the suicide, I mean, I could totally see why those people probably moved out of there.
But as soon as you drove, because when we drove up there in the daylight, as soon as you drove up and you hit the top of that drive, just by that house, you literally felt a heaviness in the air.
Well, remember, it was kind of a main gravel road, and then it veered off into,
and it got smaller, and it got rutted, and it was almost like what you would find one of those old logging dirt roads that's been washed out, or like it was like one of those type of trails that you followed right up after that went from a main road, and it just kept getting smaller until you got this rutted. It was strange.
But as spooky as it is, or to investigate any building, even like on a private case, there's even more of a creepy factor when you're out in the middle of nowhere, because I knew our cell phones didn't work, and I'm thinking,
you're not calling for help.
Yeah, if anything were to happen, literally one of us, like a horror movie, would have to get in the car, and I'm sure the police station wasn't like down the road. We were out in the middle of nowhere, Yeah. I have a graveyard on my. Oh, cool.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that would creep me out.
Yeah, Luann, he went in.
It would creep me out, and it would creep me out to live next to a graveyard too. I know quiet neighbors. That's like the funny joke. But I've seen poltergeists, and I didn't want to mess with that. So the person we were talking to last night. He was, hey Sally, long time. He is chief of police in that area up by Ogdenburg. And he was talking about a building that, God, I don't know if I could share this story or not. Well, he was just talking, I won't tell 2 stories. I'll tell the one story. He was talking about one building that he had been in that was really, really active. And he goes, the building's fairly new. And I said to him, what does that mean? And he's like, well, nobody died in that building or anything. I said, you don't know what building there was before that building. You don't know who settled the land and what happened on that land. You don't know any of that. Anything could have happened, in and around that area that you don't know.
You're not aware of.
Just because it's a new building doesn't mean that the land couldn't have something going on. Hello there. Great night last night. Oh, Stephen.
Come on. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Yes, I just put the link on there if you want to click on it if you're on your phone. and come in.
Steve, I was going to tell a story about the personal story you told me, but I didn't want to because I want your permission first because I love those stories as well. There's just they make everybody just kind of who experiences that sort of thing, and even if you haven't yet, it gives you hope that it could happen, and to look for things that you normally might not look for because I do that all the time with my mom. I know there's signs everywhere from my mom. I bought my farm 36 years ago and found out about the unmarked graveyard. Holy cow! Anything going on there, Justice? I wonder, have you ever experienced anything? But Steve, if you want, Chris is going to post the link again.
I'll do it again.
He might not know how it works.
I clicked on it again.
So that link right there into New Jersey Paranormal, it's a StreamYard account. You click on that link or you copy and paste it into a browser, and then you just follow the instructions where you allow the use of your mic and your camera. If you have an iPhone, you have to use Safari, which is that thing that looks like a compass on the bottom of your phone. You click that, and then you copy and paste the address, that link into the browser. A historian knocked on my door one day and never expected it. Nothing going on. Okay, well, you're lucky. You're lucky. See, those are the people that I want to talk to. Not he doesn't have anything going on there, but there are so many people that follow us that have stuff going on, or they've lived in places like that, and they just I get not wanting to come on because it's.
But
weird.
Even though things haven't been going on, if you knew who was buried there,
I wouldn't start up.
Would you try to talk to them? You wouldn't?
No,
if that was your property and you found out somebody was.
I've seen too many damn movies. No freaking way. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, man. If somehow
I don't believe that.
If they're not messing with you, don't go mess with. Not on my property. I'd go to someone else's property and do it.
That's a fair statement.
Not my own damn house. I almost moved into an apartment that was. The cemetery was right across. You could walk to it. You could leave like the back door of the apartment and walk 100 yards, and the whole entire cemetery is in your backyard area. And I was thinking, like, man, if I move in here, I'll be in that damn cemetery all the time because there were old headstones in the one area. I'm thinking I would literally like leave my back door and just be in there and like come home late at night. And I purposely didn't move into that place for that and other reasons. All right, here we go. Is this him? There he is. Hold on 1 second, okay? Let me change the layout here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you perfectly fine.
Could you turn the light on? It's kind of dark there.
Oh, yeah. Give me a second.
There you go. All right. We're not echoing, so that's a good thing. Steve, do you mind us telling the people what your position is, what your job is?
Yeah, you can tell them.
Well, you go ahead and tell them. They'll believe you. They won't believe me.
So the town that the Sterling Hill Mining Museum is in is Ogdensburg, New Jersey. And I am the chief of police in Ogdensburg. I've been there for 23 years. And I grew up in Ogdensburg, actually within 100 feet of the mine. And wow. I worked in the 90s. I worked there before it was actually opened as a museum, when they were still drifting the tunnels to make the museum. Spent a lot of time in that place.
And you knew some of the miners, right? Like that I was referencing, Tom, who people talk about fondly. They speak fondly of Tom. Bicycle. He would dress as Bicycle Pete for the Halloween. You met him and others, I'm sure.
Correct. So that was Tom Houck. He is related to Dick and Bob, who actually were the ones that purchased the mine from the town back in 1989.
So we were talking, again, Chris walked you down to where I was in the office building, and you had a bunch of information as far as newspaper articles and things of that nature from some of the horrific deaths that people suffered at the mine. Could you, without naming names or anything, could you just kind of like give us an overview of some of the things that happened to people and how horrific it was? So
the earliest article I was able to find was, I believe, 1871. and that's when they were still mining the open pits. And a lot of the accidents were mainly loose rock that fell off the ceiling, or the hanging wall let loose, and most people were crushed to death under tons of rock.
Mm.
Some people died in the conveyor belts and the pulleys, reaching down, and the clothing gets caught, and that's not a pretty end. And for instance, the one person, when they were drilling the first vertical shaft there, they were being lowered up and down in a bucket. The bucket caught the door, flipped him out of the bucket. He fell 900 feet straight down to the bottom of the shaft.
Ah, boy.
So, and what I found, the youngest age of death was 16.
Yeah.
The average age was 24.
Okay.
And I believe the oldest was late 40s, early 50s.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. With the last death in the mine that I could find was 1950.
I thought some of those guys kind of retired doing that in their 60s and.
No, he's just saying about death.
Oh, the deaths.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought you were talking the average age.
Well,
no.
to give you, there was a group that I had in there, and you talked about the 16-year-old Jacob, and we actually brought Jacob in one of our sessions, and we actually got a response back.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So, had you ever been on any kind of paranormal investigation of any kind?
The only paranormal one I did was in October 2019 when you were at the mine, and this was my second one.
Okay. So again, Steve comes in. I like the fact that you're a police officer, and again, logical mind, debunking that type of thing and trying to figure
And
out
he's done
reasons
tours
for,
there.
right. You have a history with that place. I can speak for myself. I don't know what happened in the rest of but I was so grateful that Steve was there last night, because he literally was the switch that I needed to generate all the activity that happened from the time you were in the building forward. That basement was so active and charged from the moment you were there until we finished. Whoever was in there was so stirred up by you being there that it just continued on and on and on. And I was just fascinated. I could have just stayed there for hours.
Yeah, we were talking
I told
about
him not
earlier,
to leave.
energy.
Yeah.
There's certain energies and certain people that spirits connect to that we can't explain.
Yeah, that was amazing last night.
So talk about that a little. What were some of the things that you remember that you were kind of surprised about, or things that happened that you kind of just were, again?
So it started in the Zobel Museum, the old change. So again, I spent a lot of time in that building, helping set up the museum before it was open. My name was actually on one of the lockers down there as one of the, not founding members, but one of the early participating members.
Okay.
So standing in there with the FLIR camera on me, I was, all of a sudden they're told to move away from me, which
That's always fun.
Yeah, I'm standing there. Okay, so all right, do I smell? I don't know. But what it turned out to be was there was actually a spirit behind me. Me. And I couldn't see it, but everybody else was watching. And I was handed the EMF box with the antenna, and was asking some words, and that thing lit up like a Christmas tree. And when I turn around and they put the Edison light down there, and again we asked, here's the energy you need, maybe manifest, and that thing went off, and it never stopped.
Yeah.
Beep, 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 beep. Yeah, that contact.
And we preach a lot, and I even mentioned this during my lecture. I tell people all the time, and again, I don't say it as part of a shtick. I really don't. I mean it when I say it. There's no telling how energy is going to mix with energy, especially you were the most familiar person that probably, had been in a group of ours for a long time, who actually, had that kind of history with the mine. And I think, again, you were such a catalyst of what happened in my group.
His daughter was in the mine too, because she's been in the mine during their holiday tours.
Oh, okay.
So there seemed to be. As a matter of fact, we don't know who the spirit was calling loser, if it was Steven or if it was me.
I can't remember exactly what you said. Did you say something about delivering papers?
Yeah. So when my family, again, we grew up down the street from the mine, we used to have the paper route for the whole area.
Right.
And one of the places we used to deliver the newspaper to, when I was 8, 9 years old, was the zinc mine. You would walk through off of Plant Street and into the back there, the back door where you had the other EMF thing set up where that went crazy last night with that spirit. And right where we were standing in that room is where I used to drop the newspaper on the desk.
See, and that's what started it all. He's standing there, and his daughter's next to him, and there's some other people there. And he said out loud, "Remember me? I used to deliver the paper here when I was, I think you said 16, or I can't remember what." And that's when, boom, whatever was listening was just like, aha, it's him. And then EMF lights, REM pod. And I said, oh, and again, for me, who's been in that building many times now, he's the guy in there is kind of tricky. And you've heard the stories about Doug not being able to sleep there anymore. There's a guy who used to sleep in one of the bedrooms downstairs.
Except with a bat.
Yeah, refuses to sleep down there anymore. And whoever is down there, he can be triggered. And I saw it firsthand. And I was happy you were there, but I hate it when you left, because I said, if he took whoever
with him
following him, the rest of my night's going to be pretty boring. But I mean, it looked like you were kind of taken back by some of that stuff as well, that the reaction you were getting from whoever was there.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting that.
Well, as a police officer, if you had a guess, who was down there and where did they come from? And they haven't been there. I was there 4 years ago, whatever it was, and this person wasn't bothering Doug. What do you think?
I don't know. People change over time. Maybe he doesn't like who's there now.
You think so?
Don't forget when I was working at the mine, we, at the end of the day, we would meet with the house. We'd sit upstairs. We'd have pizza and everything and watch TV. I'd be leaving there 9, 10 o'clock at night. Walk dark. And but the house and the people that run the mine now are all very nice people, but they're all very different people too.
Okay. See, that explains a lot. That does explain a lot. So I don't know if you feel okay talking about the other thing we were talking about with your dad.
Sure.
Okay. While I was setting up the room for the event last night, Steve had mentioned that his father had passed recently. How long ago was that again?
December 4th, 2022.
Okay, so yeah, that was really recent. And you were mentioning that there are signs in his home that he is still around. You just, if you can, kind of tell that story again, like the things that you've experienced there.
Well, I myself haven't experienced it, but because that's not Carolina. However, my sister, she has to visit the house every day to feed. He had two cats, and he treated those cats like they were his children.
Right.
And so she would go there, and she'd turn off the lights, leave one light on, but she'd come back in, and that light would be off, and other lights would be on. So she actually got to the point where she called me. She's like, there's something odd going on here. She goes, the cabinet where Dad kept his coffee, it's open. That's the only cabinet he'd use, because that was his thing. He made his coffee every morning. He had his routine. He made his coffees, made his eggs, and he had the cats and that. And she goes, she goes, I come over. There's lights that are on, and I know I didn't leave on.
Wow.
The cabinet's open. So I'm planning on going back down. We have to settle the estate.
Okay.
But I'm going to take your advice and set up a recorder and see if we can pick something up.
Yeah. That's what I told him to do, and I'm hoping that you do capture something. We have a similar type of. We were helping a woman who was suffering from severe depression. She moved back with her father, who had 2 massive strokes. Took care of him for the last 3 years of his life. When he did pass, she went into severe depression. She stayed in the house. She wouldn't leave the house. She wouldn't go out with her husband. Wouldn't go out with friends. And she said, "He's here. He's still here. I hear him. I hear him. I know he's here. I hear him in his man cave." And when we had our recorder and we were asking him questions, we heard his voice. We would have never known what he sounded like. She listened back and she said, "It's him." He actually was making fun of me when I asked the question. He mocked my nasally voice, in the question, and she said my father would do that all the time and make fun of the way people spoke and their tones and everything. She's like, this is his, and she was crying,
Yeah.
and we were able to help her, and she started going out again, and the spirit, thank God, he eventually moved on to wherever you go. But I think for you, I think it's worth trying. I really do, especially if you're settling the estate and the house is going to sell. I imagine.
Eventually it'll sell. Probably not for a year or two, because we have other with my mother and stuff, so we can't sell right away. But but his death was so sudden.
Yeah, I know.
Again, it's not, he may still be there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And sometimes again, that's because it's like you said, so recent that he probably is kind of back and forth a little more to make sure you guys are okay and what's going on. And again, that's his favorite.
And you and I
place,
had that discussion when you had revealed that, and I told you about with my daughter, 3:00 in the morning and the door slamming and the TV going on in the living room, and that was our routine. We'd sit down and we watched and that went on for a while until it just started to. And I think maybe it's a way of them either not realizing that they have and things have changed and just going through the motion, their energy, or are they coming back to make sure we're okay?
It's got to make you feel good, though. We were talking about it's got to make you feel good because we all believe what we believe, but we don't know for sure. I mean, let's face it. And to have kind of proof, I think makes you feel really good, when it comes to things like that. But I would try it. But back to the mind part of it. Now, you're a police officer, obviously, many years. If you're the sheriff, how many years you've been on?
He's a chief.
23 years.
How many?
23.
Wow, that's a lot of years.
Chief for the last 2015, last 8 years.
So you have a way of doing it. What were your impressions of our methods and our techniques and what we do to try to engage spirits?
Well, it's methodical.
Right.
So you have a plan that builds on top of itself.
Right.
So that way you can prove or disprove what you see or don't see, because if you just throw everything out at once, you can't tell what works.
Right.
It's like you're right. It's doing an investigation.
And we do try to be logical about it, and we try to, we do want to find out information. Like I was even talking before you came on. Every time I'm there, I ask that person, "What is your name? Tell me your name." Just to one time, so we can look up and we can see who you are, what type of person you are, and maybe whatever issue you're having here, we could talk about that as well. But he will never, ever, ever say his name.
No,
that's bizarre to me.
I said his name.
Oh, really?
Oh, yes.
Oh, and he had it last night.
Really?
Yeah. So when I think who was in the attic last night running the show?
Attic.
The attic. The shaft room.
Oh, the shaft. That was Tanya.
Yeah. Tanya. Oh. So as soon as she found out I worked at the mine, I got the chair front and center, and I had everything yes, no, put around me, and then all the other EMF. So as soon as I sat down, the one behind me lit up. There was no way I could set it off. I couldn't reach it. It lit up. So then we did the recording, and she had me ask several questions. And I said, my first question was, are you happy to have me back here at the mine? The second one, what is my name? Third question is, what is your name? The other two, I don't recall off the top of my head. But when the recording was played back, very clear on the tape, to answer the first question was satisfied.
Wow.
The second answer, my name. Now, I was going by Steve last night. That's what I go by. It came out Steven. That's my full name. That's my given name, Steven. And the third question, what is your name? Again, clear as day, Edward.
Edward.
Yeah.
Wow.
Edward.
That's something.
Isn't that great, though? That's what I'm talking about. I mean, ideally, that would be our interaction with every spirit is question answer, but it doesn't work that way. Again, we're talking about, going back to your father. It's a mystery to everyone, including me, why some spirits can use their voice and answer questions on a recorder, whereas others will open cabinets, whereas others, the really bad ones, can throw furniture across the room. Yet not every spirit could obviously
Yeah.
do that. And it's really strange of the whys and the why nots and the.
Was it
It's
your
part
group
of-
that we had the box and as we were getting ready to switch and the other group was coming towards us, it said flashlights and it's behind you, like it's following?
That wasn't us. I know it was saying something, but nothing to that. What sticks out in my mind was loser.
Yeah, loser.
Oh my
We're
God.
switching groups and they handed me back the box and as soon as it said loser and he was the last one to hold. So I didn't know if the
Oh
spirit
my
was
God,
calling
that is
him
funny.
a loser or me a loser. And it was the portion of the mind that I find the most terrifying, that I don't like to be in. And that's the original part of the mind.
How did your daughter like it?
Oh, she absolutely loved it.
Did she? Good.
Yeah, she was very impressed, first time ever, and especially at the very end there in where the shaft is. You know, we were even talking about it last night. How clear on tape you could hear everything.
Yeah.
And that's not usual.
No.
That's
no.
rare. It's very rare to hear something so clear.
Yeah.
That's why we love going there. We've been involved with them for, I don't know, 4 or 5 years now. And the very first time we were in there, I tell this story a lot. We were in the area where Chris was last night, and I'd never been in there and investigated. I never even toured the place. And we went in there, we're in that area, and we just, all the lights were off, and it was just us, and we're standing there. And I said, let's just be quiet and let's just listen. And we started hearing the whistling back and forth first. And then we thought we were going crazy because we heard people talking and we're going, there's no way sound is getting in here from outside. We're way in and nobody was in the building. And we just heard them talking to each other back and forth. You would hear like mumble, mumble, mumble. And then we caught the voices. We do a walk in October where we just lanterns, but we'll stop at different areas and
Key
do
points.
recordings with the people that are there. And you can't guarantee EVPs anywhere you go, but in that mine, in certain areas.
Oh, and the residual booms.
Yeah.
Like dynamite.
Oh, yeah.
You experienced that too, didn't you? That
Yep.
last night.
That's creepy enough. That sound of that, and that could be coming from anywhere if it's a residual
Ed's on here.
sound.
Ed's group where we were all standing there and all of a sudden you heard this bloop, 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 bloop,
Yeah.
come right out of the water.
Edward says Steve was a great trigger object person. Yeah, Steve, we need you back. We definitely need to. And similar to your story and what happened to you, we were in another place called the Wyckoff Garrison House. It was owned by the Wyckoff family forever and ever and ever. We had one of the descendants there. We didn't know he was going to be on one of the ghost hunts. And unfortunately, that family was known for not treating their servants / slaves well. And he was there, and we even mentioned his name in a certain area. We said, hey, we have one of the descendants. And similar to the reaction you got, just in terms of interaction, his was all negative. Literally curses on the recorders.
Oh, wow.
Everything was negative towards him. And he wanted to get out of there because whoever was there remembered that family and remembered how they were obviously treated. And so it can go the other way too, for sure.
True. Well, one other thing I found interesting is in the old works down there where the underground lake is, the smell in there last night. I have never smelled anything like that in the mine before.
Really?
Yes.
Could you describe it?
It smelled like burnt powder, like
really?
like after a blast.
It did. It happened. We had that residual boom, and then that whole cavity just filled with that smell.
And I walked out.
Exactly what's the sound?
It's the Zooland area with the spring water.
See?
And the funny thing is, I try not to influence you guys by saying, like, if I react first and I say something, it's my job to let you guys react first, because I don't want, because there are people that if you say something, they just glom onto it and follow it. So I don't want to influence them. So when you said, oh my God, can you guys smell that? And the reaction, I was like, I'm not the only one smelling that.
Wow.
Well, and what's even more amazing is the exit door out there that goes to the old mill ruins was actually open. I walked down that tunnel. I couldn't smell it. I walked back up to that cross area. I smelled it. I smelled it where the water was. I smelled it in the room where the tent was. That was it. And there's no way with the air movement in mind
That was the first time you smelled it as well?
Oh my God, yes.
See, I
I've
wonder
never
really,
had that happen
I wonder
before.
if he was a catalyst for
I
for-
kind of
for
think
that
so.
kind of
But
stuff.
again,
Interesting.
when I literally said, Edward, was that you? Because he moved in such a way, I was so shocked. You heard the water gurgle, like something was coming up out of it.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, hopefully we'll see you again down the road. We'll be back there again in
June 17th.
May and June.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
I saw June. And so, yeah, in May and June I saw. So
Yeah. So it may be worth having you there just to guarantee people an experience.
I great. So
Yeah.
yeah, give me an ice cream sandwich and a soda. I'm good.
Okay. We got a deal. All right, Steve. I appreciate it. It was good meeting you, and hopefully
Yep,
we'll
same
see you
here.
down the road.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
All right.
Have a good night.
Take care. Have a good night.
Bye bye.
Oh, sorry about that.
That was cool.
So again, he was there. We didn't know he was going to be there either. He's friends with Bill, the director of the Sterling Hill Mine, and Bill said, "Hey, the chief of police is going to be here with his daughter," and we were like, "Yeah, okay." We didn't even know that he had the history that he had with the mine, but I preach all the time about energy mixing with energy. It's the same at the Creeper Gallery. It's the same at any building you go in with any amount of people. That's what makes interesting what we do and how we do it. And again, I'm not putting down others and how they do whatever they do, but we have a method to what we do and how we do it. And it does involve how energy mixes with people. You never know. We were talking about this today. You could have one group of 6 people or 5 people or whatever, and I mean nothing. Yeah. And you're just like, boy, oh boy, like the last group that was in here, we got some stuff, but this group just nothing for whatever reason.
There's an
and then a group comes in like with a guy like Steve or someone else, and you're like,
poor Lynn.
Who is here is reacting this way to this person?
We did an experiment, and someone else was in before, and it was just flowing questions, and like answers are coming back, and like you couldn't even keep up with the stuff that was going. Poor Lynn got in there, and it just like it stopped. It came to it just like nothing, and we're all looking at each other like, I'm like, well, maybe this is what we're talking about, maybe the energy. And all of a sudden, she yells out, "I don't like you." The spirit told her it didn't like her. And we literally had to stop the experiment, pull her out, and change it and put someone else. And oh my gosh, it was like back on. Yeah, that was before you, Catherine. And it was, and she was getting so much.
Yeah, that's going to be, again, you just, and it doesn't have to be Steve per se. It could be. It's not like nothing like that ever happened before in any group at any time.
Energy.
It could be anybody for any reason. And again, I say that in every lecture I do because I'm not trying to set the tone for like, ooh, plant the seed. It could be any of you who gets, no, it's true. I know it's true. I could, haunted objects. I could handle an object and, oh, look, this is just a doll. Big deal. And then give it to her. And all of a sudden she's feeling, whatever. So you just never know. But that's the interesting part of what we do.
There was something unique that happened different, and I want to say it because she's on here right now. One of the women that came, she was speaking Spanish, and I said, "We've never tried this before. I want you to go ahead and speak," and she did. And the person in the tent said the answer came back in Spanish, and he goes, "I don't understand," but I said "siete" something, and I forget what her question was, but it's a reminder that sometimes you have to change it up and go out of something you're not familiar with or you're not comfortable with or you understand, and use all the people around you and the tools what they give you in different languages. And we got a response. Did I understand anything that she was saying? No, but the spirit did.
Did you read that?
What?
Stephen said many miners were of Mexican descent.
And that is really important that we be mindful of stuff like that.
And Edward did mention that downstairs his device was going off constantly. And again, I said to him, yeah, it's a reach, but I'm only basing it on what I'm getting from. He, had a knitted hat on. He's got a beard like I have. Edward, of all the people in that particular group, looked like a minor, like you would think a minor looked. He kind of, looked like he wouldn't be out of place being in there, doing the job. So I called him Mr. Friendly because he's the opposite of that. He was okay with Edward. And again, just goes to show why there have been times where I've been in that bottom area, and this is no lie, where I've had a group of females, and Lynn may have been there during this, or Kathy, where he said some really derogatory stuff to females when they were asking questions. I'm talking like really the words that females don't like to be called.
Oh, we got called that in the mine last night.
Bam, bam, bam. In this one group where he was just like,
no, I'm
not having this.
We got called the C word.
Oh, I didn't want to actually mention.
No, we got caught in the mine last night. I forget who it was who was sitting there and said the C word. What?
Catherine said, "Shut up, my husband is Mexican, and I think you had Hugo speak to them in Spanish too."
See?
I wish we had known. Again, we learn as we go as well. So these are tools for us to use going forward. So again, that may be something worth. Tanya does speak Spanish. That may be something worth Tanya doing.
Yeah,
with
switching
her
it up
group in the future to see if there's more.
And it was funny because when I heard her speaking Spanish to Hugo, I think it was you said it's Hugo. When I heard her speaking to her friend in Spanish, I was like, what? It literally clicked. Like, you know what? We need to use that.
Yeah.
It just read and I don't know why it seemed right because I didn't know that they were workers in their Mexican descent. So this is what I mean about having an open mind and using what's in front of you and the people and taking it to further. So even though we're methodical and logical about things, you still always have to remember it's the human element that's always involved in this. And this is what brings it around.
Too frequently, I think because of the shows, and I just think movies and all that other stuff. Yeah, the negative stuff is what's sexy and what sells. And of course, the ghost hunting stuff, people are afraid of that.
Yeah.
And they should be because there is bad out there, just like there's. But I think what gets lost in a lot of the shows and what people do is that people. That's who we're dealing with. These are people that I mentioned this about. Someone mentioned about future.
Mm-hmm.
No, I believe what we're dealing with and we're speaking with are people who were here before us. That's it. And our job as investigators and researchers is to just make the connection, initiate the interaction, and try to communicate in whatever way that we can. And we're very limited in that because, again, we don't know how it works over there. We don't know what it takes I say that all the time, to bridge that gap. But that's the initial thing. Of course, if you're dealing with someone negative, you deal with them a little bit different depending on what their responses are to what you're trying to do. I mean, if you're trying to be polite and say, just who are you and what are you doing here? And could you answer some questions? And they're spitting the F word and the C word. Of course, you're going to react a little differently to them. But for the most part, people, this is what we're dealing with. These guys had regular jobs, showed up every day, did a tough job, went home every night to their family and whatever, showed up for work the next day and did a job. And we're just trying to connect with them, period.
Yeah.
Okay.
You were saying about Hungarian phrases?
If you want to try to confirm, you need Hungarian phrases spoken to. Again, that's something we could use apps for as well on the phone. I mean, we could test that as well, where you have a translator, and you ask the question in Hungarian out in the open and record to see if you can get an answer. The SLS, one of the ladies in the group, a guy thought about turning it off and he was uncomfortable. We've had that before, Edward. I could tell you a story really quick. I'm going to get real sidetracked here before we go off.
But it's funny.
We were investigating, true story. We were investigating an object that was a gnome, a garden gnome that had belonged to a guy who was, he got out of prison for sexual type of crimes. And he had done something and the cops were going to come back and arrest him again. And the police, sorry, Stephen, the police were going to come and arrest him again. He barricaded himself in his home, basically set the house on fire, and he died.
Blew it up.
And yeah, he died. Curtis, thank you. I didn't want to say it, but John
McGinnis knows what
John
you
McGinnis,
want.
don't ever join the mafia because you wouldn't last 10 seconds, buddy. But anyway, Curtis, we're investigating Curtis, and a lot of the stuff was negative. Curtis was not a nice person, and it showed up during the investigation. A lot of what he was saying and a lot of what was coming out. The SLS figure, long story short, literally was a stick figure standing and I'll put it gently, manipulating himself. You take it from there.
However you want to phrase, see that in your head.
But we actually were mapping this action for a good 5 minutes before it stopped.
First and only time.
And I've never seen another SLS figure like it, but we have it on camera.
We do have where we caught on SLS and it didn't get filmed, unfortunately, where we were in a house where a stick figure was groping the women.
Yeah. But this action was definitely, the hand gesture, yes, was definitely one to remember. And I'll never forget that one, ever. Because we're trying to describe it on the live as we're filming it. And we're just like, boy, it looks like he's
inappropriate. Hey, in death,
you fill in the after part for yourself.
He was who he was in life. In death, he didn't
shaking
change.
hands.
Yeah,
yes,
whatever you want to call it.
A good way to put it. But definitely, we've had our share of weird experiences, and when it comes to the mine, I just don't say it's one of like the most active places I've ever been for the sake of saying it because we're affiliated with them.
It is.
It really is an active spot. And, like with any other place, you can't guarantee activity. I could tell you the Amityville wasn't haunted every night, with crazy, maybe it was for all I know, but the interesting thing for what we do and how often as we do it there is that for us, we have the privilege of being in there and time after time. You guys sometimes are there, moving in your groups and whatever, doing different things. So it's, maybe you come back again for a second time. We're in there all the time, every time. So we actually get to see it build from event to event, experience to experience.
The changes that happen
different
in each area.
people, different, experiences. And for us as researchers and investigators, it's like we can then take that to the next event and say, now we could try to like just what we're learning tonight. We could take that and use that information for the next one and the next one and the next one and see what happens with that next group of people. That's what I love about what we do.
I do.
My apartment area used to be a nursing home. Okay. Wow. That's crazy. Yeah, that'll do it. The building, the Hoover House used to be assisted living and they have spirits in that building as well. I often wonder, not that I would ever do it. My mom was in assisted living in a nursing home. Before she passed, she got COVID and then she went to the hospital and passed there. But as a researcher, an investigator, I know for a fact those buildings have to be haunted. They have to be.
Oh, yeah.
They have to be.
Tanya worked in a nursing home at night and she said a lot of stuff would go on.
And again, we're going to run into 2 hours here, but I'll stop after this. My mom, even when she was very coherent, before close to the end, she would tell me she would see people. But even prior to that, my mom, when she was still very much with it, would tell me that a nurse would visit her like every other night. And I'm like, the nurses that work here, and she's like, no. And she lives in the basement. She stays in the basement. And I'm like, she does what now? She stays in the basement. She's like, she'll come here and visit me and we talk. And I'm like, and again, my mom, paranormal, those two words never, ever went together. Never went together. And the fact that my mom was saying that and she was like, yeah, she comes up here. I was just like, whoa, I know these buildings are haunted. Just law of averages. So many people, unfortunately, have passed in those buildings since the times they were built and occupied. You know, the spirits are wandering around those buildings.
Ed said he worked at a hospital and he has stories.
Ed,
and Justin
dude.
said about being working for an EMS agency.
All
So
right.
these are things that we're talking about.
Hold
People
on.
having experiences.
Stop it right there, because this is the things that I'm talking about. And we're not going to do it tonight because we're already at an hour and a half. But Justice, next time we come on, if you didn't mind sharing some of those experiences with, you know, the people that are watching and that are part of the community, I think they would love to hear. I would love to hear about it. And the same for you, Edward. If you could, you know, maybe come on as well, maybe the next time.
And talk about your stories about the hospital.
Yeah, I would love to hear about those, because I share the things that have happened to me, of course, but I would love to hear about those experiences. You know, West Coleman, yes, it does sound like haunted hospitals. And in case you didn't hear, Wes, I'm going to be on I Was Chased by a Demonic Snowman, which is another show that is following haunted hospitals on Canadian television.
And he's from Canada. That's why you're like, so you're teasing
he knows, Wes knows. I could tell you stories what happened when patients died in my ambulance. Yeah. Again, it's worth sharing, Justice, because again, you're someone who experienced this stuff. So I would love to hear some of these. So next time we'll probably be on again. Tuesday night, we're going to be at the Creeper Gallery. So
probably Thursday.
So if you can be on Thursday at 8:00, you too, Edward, and
we'd love to
this
share
is like
your
therapy.
With people.
We'll continue. Our time's up for this session. Unfortunately, we've run over for this session. But when we come back on Thursday live here, we welcome you to come on and share some of these things with us. My friend is a nurse, said they open a window when a patient died. Yeah, I believe that too, Laura. I believe all of it, and it makes sense to me. All right, guys, hour and a half. We've run well over. Thursday night, you'll want to be here because Ed and hopefully Justice will be on. And for now on, the session's over. We've run over. We've run over on the session. So we will continue here again Thursday. All right, guys, we'll be back from the Creeper Gallery on Tuesday, though. All right, guys.
So good night. Be safe. Stay well. And please be kind. It's important.
Night, everybody.
Good night.